This is episode number 47 of Hitting for the Cycle. I am joined by Tom Albano this week as Ben Kruse is unavailable. And Tom, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. It's good to be back with you, Ryan. Stinks to be on the Red Sox side here on the screen, but nevertheless, filling in for Ben because Ben is watching the balls get hit back and forth at the U.S. Open this week and next week. So shout out to Ben. I mean, he's probably having fun over there. Meanwhile, the two of us get to be over here and get to moan about the Yankees losing 2 games to the Nationals.
Yeah, it was an ugly series this week. Wasn't fun at all. I sure as hell would have rather watched the U.S. Open than the way the Yankees performed against a very mid Washington Nationals team where they still cannot figure out how to hit a southpaw. So, not a fun series for the Yankees. They're still in first place, barely. They're clinging by a game currently right now over the Baltimore Orioles, who fortunately lost to the Dodgers last night. So that lead, though, it's going to come down to that final week of the series, and I'm sure we'll get into all of that. But before we do, we just want to remind everybody, and I apologize for the siren in the background in case you hear it. I live right by a fire station. Anyways, please follow Hitting for the Cycle on Facebook, X, and Instagram at HFTC ETB. Follow the Empty the Bench Podcast Network at ETB Network. Follow our YouTube channel at youtube.com/ETB Network. You see it right here down below. And finally, listen to us on whatever platforms you listen to your podcasts on.
Absolutely. And do not forget that Hitting for the Cycle, as well as everything else here on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network, is presented by our good friends over at Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience. From playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETV Network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. This Sunday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, I believe that's the time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, is going to be the ETV Network Fantasy Football Draft. So we've been previewing a lot of football this week on the network. And now this is going to be basically the last part of it where 8 of us are going to do a whole fantasy draft. And you'll see over the course of the coming weeks, all of us competing and seeing who will get to avoid less and who will get first. And yeah, well, there will be more information about what potential rewards and punishments will come for the first and last place people on the show. So stay tuned for that.
Sounds like a lot of fun. All right, so we're going to get into it. So we did mention how the Yankees dropped 2 out of 3 to the lowly Nationals, which is something that we were not happy about. But one thing that we are happy about when it comes to the Yankees is that Aaron Judge continues to just wreck the baseball. And for the 3rd time in a season, Aaron Judge has surpassed the 50 home run mark. So he's now hit 50 home runs in 3 separate seasons in his career. 2017, obviously, his rookie season, he hit 52. Obviously, 2 years ago in 2022, he hit 62 home runs, breaking the long American League record for the most home runs in a single season, which was previously set by Roger Maris in 1961. Maris had 61. Judge eclipsed it with 62. And currently, as of the day of this recording, August 29th, Judge is sitting at 51 home runs. So, yeah, I mean, Judge has just gone off again. And it's just crazy because if we remember at the beginning of the season, which I'm sure all Yankee fans do, Judge got off to a very slow start. He was hitting well below 200 for the first month, and he did not look good at all. And I think it was really wasn't until he got ejected from that game against the Tigers back at the beginning of May that he really started to click and just look like the Aaron Judge that we all know and love. And I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but I think since that game, he's been slugging or hitting close to a 400 batting average, and he's just been on another level. And as a result, he's already surpassed 50 home runs, and it's not even September yet. So, I mean, we're very, very fortunate to have somebody like Aaron Judge on our team. And again, it just goes to show just how special of a player Aaron Judge truly is. So, I guess a
Mhm.
question right now would be, can you see Aaron Judge breaking his own record of 62 that he set 2 years ago, obviously, in 2022? For me personally, I think it's gonna be tough. Um, I th but I think it's doable. I mean, Judge has shown the capability of hitting multiple home runs a game on a frequent basis, and he got to 51 home runs after hitting 2 more home runs in the Yankees' 10-3 win over the Colorado Rockies on Sunday, August 25th. So, if Judge can get to 50 this quickly, I don't see any reason why he can't catch up to 62 very quickly. I definitely think it's going to be, I think it's doable. The only thing that I think that's going to be an obstacle for him is that teams are just going to be scared to pitch to him. Because Judge is so dangerous that some teams have just given him the Bonds treatment basically when he comes up to the plate. We saw that with the Blue Jays, the at the beginning of the month. Tom, your microphone
Oh
is on.
yeah, there we go. Sorry. And that's my fear that basically because he's getting the Bonds treatment from some of these teams, that they'll just hold the four fingers up and then they just won't pitch to him. I mean, it helps when you've got Soto and Stanton surrounding him in that lineup. That basically you're going to be forced to pitch to somebody. But that is my fear when you think about some of the teams that they're going to be competing against in September. Maybe they'll be a little avoidant of Judge.
Yeah, I mean, especially that second to last series against the Orioles. I mean, that's a critical series, and the American League East is probably going to come down to that series, that 3 game set at Yankee Stadium from September 24th to the 26th. The Orioles they're not going to want to be beat by Judge. No team is going to want to be beat by Judge, but especially in 3 games of that magnitude, the Orioles' mentality going into that series most likely is going to be: do not let Soto and Judge beat you. You'd rather take your chances with basically everybody else in that lineup, and that's gonna be a challenge. That's gonna be a very big challenge. However, the Yankees end the regular season with 3 games against the Pirates, who are not a good team at all. So maybe Judge will have a little more opportunities to try and hit some 60 something home runs in that 3 game series from September 27th through the 29th. But I mean, they got that Orioles series, like I mentioned. They also have the Royals in a couple of weeks at Yankee Stadium. The Royals are obviously fighting for, the American League Central Division, which we're going to talk about in a little bit later on in this episode. They also have the
Yeah,
Mariners this coming up in Seattle. The Mariners, obviously, who we're also going to talk about in a little bit too. So, yeah, I mean, they got the Yankees schedule right now. You look on paper, it doesn't look challenging. However, the Yankees have just played down to their competition for most of this season. I saw a stat that they are 24-20 against sub 500 teams this season. So they just have not taken advantage of the lenient schedule that they were given from August to September. And like we mentioned, they just came off of a
that's the
two out.
frustrating part.
Mhm. Yeah,
That
I
that's
mean, we just
that's honestly the frustrating part is that basically they're doing okay against the 500 or better teams. They do
they're
okay
doing
against
great.
the good teams. For whatever reason, they play the bad game. They play the bad teams and they struggle.
Yeah, it's perplexing. The Yankees are a very confusing team. One night they'll look unstoppable and they'll explode for maybe 10 plus runs, and then the next night they'll just get shut down by some no name or some guy who's got a sky high 5 point something ERA. Just look at what happened with them on Tuesday night against Patrick Corbin. So it was an ugly series for the Yankees. Judge did not add to his
Yeah.
home run total earlier this week during that series against the Nationals. However, the Yankees are off today, thankfully. I think we could all use a little bit of a break. And they come back home for a quick 3 game homestand against the St. Louis Cardinals, a rare trip for the Cardinals to the Bronx this weekend. And I do think Judge is going to hit another home run this weekend. I don't know exactly what day, but I can see him hitting another home run or 2 more. I do think by the end of this series against the Cardinals, he'll be sitting at 53 home runs, at least. But basically just going back, answering my own question, can I see him surpassing his record of 62? Yes, I can. I think he can reach around maybe 64, 65 home runs. Do I think he's going to do it? You know what? I'm going to go on a limb here and I'm going to say yes, because why not? Usually I feel pessimistic when it comes to most things about the Yankees, but I'm going to give Judge his due here, his flowers, and I'm going to say he's going to break his All
I'm
American League record.
I'm probably going to say yes as well. He's more than capable considering everything that he has done with this season, other than that first month of the season. Like I said, it just depends on what opponents are going to be pitching to him and the kind of race that the Yankees and the other teams are going to be in. But is he capable? More than capable. I think this has been another magical season for him.
Yeah, I mean, and also, going back to what I mentioned, how he had a very slow start to the season. Just envision what his numbers would be like if he didn't get off to a slow start. If he had played this way throughout the whole year, I mean, his numbers would just be astronomically absurd. I mean, they're absurd right now. I mean, his numbers are just head and tails above everybody else. I mean, Judge right now is. I'm just quickly looking at his
First in
stats.
like all offensive stats other than batting average.
Yeah, he's hitting 333. The only guy who's got a higher batting average than him is Bobby Witt Jr. I mean, if it wasn't for Witt, he'd be fighting for the Triple Crown right now. And he's got 51 home runs and 123 runs batted in, a 1.198 OPS. 1.198. Oh my God, it's incredible. It's just absolutely incredible. And there's also been some debate. I've seen it among some baseball analysts and baseball historians about whether or not Judge is an all-time Yankee great. And there was a question as to whether you can consider him an all-time great unless he has a ring. Now, obviously, when it comes to the Yankees and their fans, the World Series is the most important thing. But I think that you can consider Don Mattingly an all-time great in Yankee history, and Don Mattingly never won a World Series, and unfortunately, he never even played in one, and he still hasn't, unfortunately, which is a travesty. But so, in my opinion, if you consider Mattingly an all-time great, you definitely can consider Aaron Judge an all-time great. So, I definitely think that he has more
I think you can too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
I
obviously,
honestly think you can too, and it's kind of ridiculous that people will make that kind of claim. I understand the Yankees, the Yankees, the most, like you said, the most important thing is the ring. But I mean, come on, man! Like we're witnessing legendary performances between him and the next guy that we're talking about. Even if they don't win rings, you can't take away what they're doing during these seasons.
No, not at all. And yeah, I mean, Judge has just done more than I think he's done more than enough during this. I mean, it's still relatively early in this contract that he signed last year. This is only year 2 of 9, but he's more than lived up to it, if you ask me. I mean, obviously, last year was an injury-plagued season, and that definitely just was an unfortunate and catastrophic injury that just sucked the life out of the Yankees season last year, and it showed how thin the Yankees truly are without Aaron Judge. And obviously, that's why they got started on the offseason to try and help out.
I know there was a lot of debate, Ryan, about that contract and like giving him the 9th year, giving him all that money. But it's like that last year, people might point to like, you see, because he was out front. But it's like you see how the Yankees performed, and without him, the fact that they were nearly a losing team. They nearly went 81 and 81 or 80 wins and under for the first time since 92. That it feels like that alone proved Judge was worth the payday.
Absolutely. And yeah, I've also just thought long and hard about this. I've seen a lot of great players in my lifetime: Derek Jeter, Alex Rodriguez, Ichiro Suzuki, Albert Pujols. Yes, I'm counting some steroid guys who I thought were very good as well. Barry Bonds, obviously, too. You can throw him in there. Judge is definitely up there in terms of the best baseball players I've ever seen with my own eyes. And the fact that he has a chance to eclipse his own record already after just 2 seasons, and he's 32 years old. I hope that we still have a couple more seasons like this out of him. It's a thing of beauty. It really is, and makes me really appreciate just how fortunate we are to have somebody of the caliber of Aaron Judge in baseball, especially since baseball now is harder than ever in its history, with how hard pitchers throw and how hard it is to stay healthy. Judge has just been a different animal. He's almost in a league of his own. And speaking almost in a league of his own, we should probably talk about the other guy, Shohei Ohtani, the other major name in Major League Baseball. He is now a 40-40 club member. He is now one of only 6 players in Major League Baseball history to achieve 40 home runs and 40 stolen bases in the same season. The other 5 being Jose Canseco in 1988, Alex Rodriguez in 1998, Barry Bonds in 1996, Alfonso Soriano in 2006, and Ronald Acuna last year. Obviously, Acuna won 40-70, winning the National League MVP in the process. And, Ohtani obviously is strictly DHing this year. He's still recovering from Tommy John surgery. At the beginning of the season, when we were doing our preseason predictions for awards, I vividly remember saying, Mookie Betts is my pick to win the National League Most Valuable Player award this year. But obviously, Betts went down with that wrist injury a few months ago, and he's since returned, and he's picked it up basically. He hasn't really slowed down. However, with all the time that has gone by, during Betts' absence, Ohtani more than filled the void. And I looked at the numbers around the National League, and honestly, none of them really stand out to me other than Ohtani's. And, I'm kind of, I've always been kind of ambivalent when it comes to giving an MVP award to a DH. But you know what? Pitchers have won MVP awards before, like Roger Clemens and Justin Verlander. So if you can give a pitcher an MVP award, then I think it's only fair that you give a designated hitter an MVP award. And Ohtani, in my opinion, has been the main reason why the Dodgers have been able to stay in first place in the National League West for pretty much most of this season, pretty much this entire season. I mean, obviously, the Diamondbacks and the Padres are right on their tail trying to overtake them for first place. But, I mean, what can you say about Ohtani other than the fact that he's doing this with a damaged UCL and the fact that he's incredible? 42 home runs. He went deep again last night on his bobblehead night, by the way.
He's a Frankenstein.
It's absolutely
He's
insane.
A Frankenstein. He is a freak of nature. We talked about how Judge does amazing things. Ohtani is right up there too. And the fact that he reached the 40-40 claim, it was a walk-off grand slam is how he do it. I said this with Nick on ETV Sports. He's in Los Angeles, and I don't think Hollywood could write that kind of script, how it played out.
Ohtani's almost cartoonish. He almost doesn't seem real. There's like this aura about him when the cameras are on him and when he walks to the plate. It's like almost an action figure or a cartoon hero just coming up to the plate, and you're just waiting for him to do something special. And he showed that he has a flair for the dramatic, like you mentioned, the walk-off grand slam for his 40th home run of the year. And like I mentioned last night at Dodger Stadium, August 28th against the Orioles, they were giving away a Shohei Ohtani and decoy bobblehead. And in his first at-bat against Corbin Burns, he goes deep into the right field stands. And I saw that coming from a mile away. I said, he's going yard. There's no doubt in my mind he's going yard in this game. You kidding me? I would be flummoxed if he didn't go yard. I also joked that the fans would be crazy enough to throw the bobbleheads on the field after he went yard, which thankfully did not happen because that would be very dangerous and stupid. But, Ohtani.
We don't need another 1995.
Or in 1978 when Reggie Jackson hit a home run on his candy bar day and the fans threw candy bars on the field. The 1995 was also Mattingly homering and the Yankees throwing beer and hats on the field too. Good times. Even though I wasn't alive for either of those moments. But yeah, Ohtani just continues to be Ohtani. And it's almost to the point where it's just so ridiculous that going into a baseball season, it's almost like when you have your predictions as who do you think is going to win the AL MVP and the NL MVP at the beginning, your preseason predictions, like 9 times out of 10, you got to choose Judge and Ohtani at this point. I mean, now they both can win, their own MVP awards because they were obviously both in the American League last year, Ohtani's first year as a Dodger. So, there's all this talk and debate about, who's the best player in baseball, and it almost always boils down to Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge. And, you can make an argument for both guys, in my opinion. I don't think there's a wrong answer, really, with Ohtani doing what he's been able to do, pitching and hitting wise at an elite level. And Aaron Judge continuing to just mash with all this home run totals each year, surpassing 53 times and, breaking a 61-year-old record. And the fact that Judge is also an incredible fielder too. He's a phenomenal fielder at robbing home runs. He has a great arm. He can read fly balls. He reads very tricky fly balls. He takes great routes. I can go on and on about both of these guys. And answering the second part of this graphic right here, is Shohei Ohtani the National League MVP? At this point, I know I said Betts at the beginning of the season. He was my pick. But if I had to choose at this moment in time, I would have to choose Ohtani. No other numbers from any other National League baseball player stand out to me as much as Ohtani's. And in my opinion, Ohtani's just been the most significant impact player for any National League team this year. The Dodgers would not be where they are without him.
Yeah, no, I don't know how you can say anybody but Ohtani, and on the AL side, Aaron Judge for MVPs this season. Bobby Witt's having an incredible year. Bryce Harper can still mash the ball, but as of this point, you think about legendary performances and what we're seeing, legendary accomplishments, and just magical kind of years from these two freaks of nature, as we just called them. I don't know how it can't be anybody other than Shohei Ohtani on the NL side and Aaron Judge on the AL side. Like this is what we're seeing is incredible. There's a chance, Ryan, that Shohei Ohtani could be the first to do 50-50.
Yeah, I mean that's good. That's a good point. I totally forgot about that. We still got another full month in the season, and Ohtani right now is at 42-42, 42 home runs, 42 stolen bases. He stole 2 more bases last night.
He's going to make it to 50-50.
He's going to be a 50-50 man. That's an entirely new club. So nobody's ever done 50-50 before. So add another accolade to Ohtani's already stacked resume. Obviously, the only thing missing from Ohtani's resume is a postseason, which he's going to check off this year at the end of the regular season. He'll be making his postseason debut finally and deservedly. And honestly, I think he's going to shine when the lights are on the brightest. I think he's going to thrive in the playoffs, and I think he's going to propel the Dodgers. I don't know if the Dodgers are going to win the World Series necessarily, because there are some things that I'm kind of iffy about when it comes to them, specifically that rotation. But I definitely think having a healthy Ohtani in the playoffs is dynamite and critical for the Dodgers in order for them to go far this year in the playoffs. And, now that the 3-headed beast of Betts, Ohtani, and Freeman is back together, I think the Dodgers are a team you got to watch out for as we go down the stretch. But as of the day of this recording, Ohtani's number stands here. He's hitting .295, 42 home runs, 42 stolen bases, 95 runs batted in, and a .999 OPS. So just another phenomenal season from Ohtani. He's doing this with a damaged UCL. So even when he's not on the mound firing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs, he's still contributing and still being the most valuable player on his team, even with stars like Betts and Freeman.
Well, Ryan, if Ohtani, because Nick was talking my ear off about this just the other day, if Ohtani has another issue with his pitching and let's say another injury, Nick has advocated that on our show ETB Sports that maybe Shohei Ohtani convert to a full-time DH. Do you think that would be possible if he gets another pitching injury?
I could see that is a possibility. Do I think that's going to happen? No. I think Ohtani takes too much pride in being able to pitch in addition to hit. But, given his work ethic and how much he puts his body through pitching and hitting wise, I could see, him just developing pitching issues throughout his career. I think it's just inevitable, really. I think, pretty much every year he's going to have to skip a couple of starts here and there. And I don't think he's ever going to be a full-time DH because, like I said, he just has too much pride in doing what he does. But I do just see him having a lot of arm problems down the line for pitching. I don't think his bat will slow down anytime soon. I still think he'll put up these elite numbers for a few more years. But pitching definitely concerns me with him. I think one day he will win the Cy Young. That would be incredible to see a Cy Young and MVP season all wrapped up in one. I don't think we've seen that since Justin Verlander, if I'm mistaken, in 2011. I think that was the
I
last time
think you're right.
I think that was the last time that was done. So I think Ohtani definitely has the capability of doing that, but I just don't see him being able to keep up his elite level of pitching for as long as his elite level of hitting. I just think that his arm is just going to tire more quickly as a pitcher than as a hitter. So I don't see it happening, at least
Honestly,
not anytime soon. But I think he's going to be. I think he's going to do whatever it takes to stay a two-way pitcher slash hitter for his entire career. I don't know if
actually,
you have any.
Ryan, now that I'm
Yeah.
thinking about it, didn't Clayton Kershaw won the Cy Young and MVP in
Oh yes, you're right.
2014.
You were right. Yes, 2014, right?
Yeah. So I think Shohei Ohtani has a chance to do that if he stays healthy, a full healthy pitching season.
Yeah. Yeah, Kershaw, I totally forgot about him, man, because he's been, MIA for a lot of the past couple of seasons. And I mean, you almost forget about when it comes to the Dodgers now, the first name that comes to your mind is Ohtani. Kershaw's been relegated to like, fourth or fifth, and he's been the longest tenured Dodger. He's the longest tenured Dodger, and he's been there since 2008. And he was the face of the Dodger franchise for years. And that was really until Mookie Betts came along. So, yeah, I mean, Ohtani, another spectacular season. In all likelihood, he's probably going to win his third MVP award and his second in a row, and his third in 4 years. And I think this might be the first time. I don't know if this is true or not. I think if he wins the MVP award, he might be the first player in history to win an MVP award in two separate leagues. That being the American League one year, the National League the next year. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think he might make history if he does win the MVP this year.
It
But
sounds possible. It sounds realistic for somebody like Ohtani.
yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Shohei Ohtani just continues to be Shohei Ohtani. So yeah, I guess we'll move on to our next topic, which is the Royals, who took 2 out of 3 from the Guardians in Cleveland this week, and the Royals nearly swept the Guardians yesterday. I actually jumped the gun yesterday when we were typing down our topics for this episode, and I had initially Royals sweep Guardians, and at the time it was like the top of the 7th inning or something like that, and the Royals had a 5-2 lead. But the Guardians, give them credit. They came back and they took the game 7-5. So I am responsible for the Royals choking, I guess, yesterday against the Guardians. But Cleveland is starting to feel the pressure of the Royals and the Twins on their tails. I mean, Cleveland's been in first place in the AL Central for pretty much this entire season, dating back to April. But the Royals have just been so pesky, and they have just crawled their way back up to the top of the American League Central, and they played a great series against the Guardians this week. Like I mentioned, they took 2 out of 3 from them. And, I was looking at the standings. So currently right now, as of the day of this recording, obviously it is August 29th, like I mentioned earlier. Cleveland leads Central by 1 game, 1 teeny tiny game over Kansas City. The Guardians right now are 76-58, and the Royals are 75-59. And a big reason why this is why Cleveland has not been able to pull further ahead in the American League Central. It's kind of a similar situation with the Yankees when it comes to sub 500 teams. The Guardians have played down to the competition of the Chicago White Sox, whereas the Royals dominated the White Sox all season long. So, I mean, the Royals went 12-1 against the White Sox this season, whereas the Guardians are only 5-5 against them this year. So that's the big reason why
How do you go 500 against a team like the White Sox? I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. The White Sox are the White Sox are, I have already determined, are the worst team I have ever seen. In my opinion, the worst team in baseball history, regardless of whether or not they get to the 120 loss mark. And you're going 5-5 against them. If you do that, I'm sorry. I don't think you deserve the division. It wouldn't surprise me at this point if the Royals overtook them, especially the way Bobby Witt Jr. has been performing for them.
I mean, Witt has obviously, like we just mentioned when we were talking about Aaron Judge, Witt's been on another level this entire season, and he is quickly making it apparent that the Royals hit the jackpot with that contract. I mean, Witt has basically been the lightning rod. He's not basically, he has been the lightning rod, the catalyst for this Kansas City Royals offense. And he's leading the American League in batting average. And he's probably going to win the batting title. I don't know if Judge can catch up to him in the batting average department because right now, I mean, actually, he's not too far off. Witt's hitting 346. I thought it was higher, but Witt is hitting 346 with 28 home runs and 95 runs batted in. So Witt is going to eclipse 100 RBIs in addition to he's probably going to also eclipse 30 home runs. And he also has 185 hits, so he's going to get to the 200 hit mark this season as well.
I feel bad for him because if it wasn't for Aaron Judge having a legendary season, Bobby Witt would be the clear AL MVP.
Yeah, I mean, the top 3 MVP in the American League, I think, is without question. I think if you went from 1 to 3, it's Judge. I think he's most like we mentioned. He's gonna win the American League MVP award this year. Again, deservedly so. Judge wins it this year. I think Witt's going to come in second. I think he's going to be the runner-up, and I think Soto comes in third. I think that's going to be the top 3 voting this year. I know some people would probably beg to differ and say Judge first, Soto second, Witt third. However, Soto's actually been in a slump, and he had a rough August for the Yankees. I know it doesn't seem that way because he still hits home runs and still walks a lot, but Soto has actually been slumping a little bit, and his average has dropped to, I think, 292 or something like that now. Whereas Witt's just been consistent all year long.
The Royals dropped like it's something dramatic.
I know. It dropped maybe a whole 10 points. But Witt, where would the Royals be without Bobby Witt? The Royals would be near AL Central contention if it wasn't for Bobby Witt Jr. I mean, obviously the Royals pitching has surpassed expectations this year, and they've gotten some really solid contributions from guys like Seth Lugo and Michael Lorenzen, who they acquired at the deadline. So, the Royals are a very dangerous team, and it all revolves around Bobby Witt Jr. And, they should prove that they're no slouch. I mean, the Guardians also proved that they're no slouch either. They came back in the final game of that series when they were facing adversity of being swept on their home turf. I mean, give them credit, for staying ahead and taking that game. In regards to, do I think Cleveland can hang on and win the division? We still have another full month of baseball to go. Obviously, Cleveland has a bit more experience because they just won the Central 2 years ago. I mean, and also don't count out the Twins. The Twins are still in it for the title. I mean, it's funny. Baseball and fans have criticized the American League Central for being too weak of a division in recent years. And right now, it's probably the most competitive division race with 3 teams fighting for the title. And all three fighting for three teams are gonna be in the playoffs. I mean, the Guardians, Twins, and the Royals are all. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna go one step further. Actually, I'm gonna say I think this is the most competitive year of baseball that we've seen in quite some time, and I think some of that's because there's no projected 100 win team this season. You've got the Yankees, the Guardians, the Orioles, the Astros, all in that mix of the 70-ish wins fighting for that top spot, the best record in the American League. And on the flip side, on the NL side, you've got the Dodgers, you've got the Phillies, the Braves, they're all in that mix. I think this is just that really competitive. I think they said this is the first time since 2014 potentially that we could have no 100 win team. And, it kind of stinks sometimes because, you want to see a team dominate, but it's such a competitive, atmosphere.
I mean, I've been talking about that with Ben for the past couple of episodes about how there's no clear-cut favorites. And in all honesty, I mean, not having a 100 wins team in baseball, I guess it's a little bit of a bummer. But honestly, the more competitive it is around the league, the more fun it is. I like how there's no clear-cut favorite this year because a major criticism that I've had in recent years is that that there have been some matchups where you just look at the matchup and you go, okay, this team's absolutely going to annihilate another team. And that was revolving around matchups like the Astros and the Mariners in recent years. And I guess it still is to an extent where the Astros are just going to kill the Mariners. But the Astros have not been the dominant force that they've been, in recent years, obviously. I mean, they took a step back last year when they only won 90 games. They still made the ALCS, but I mean, I think that goes to show that the Astros, that age is starting to catch up a little bit with the Astros, even though they're still a very dangerous team and they have the experience in the playoffs. But like you said, everybody is in it. It's so tightly competitive, and I think it makes for a more fun race down the stretch. I'm really looking forward to September. I'm really excited to see what.
Yeah.
I'm excited and nervous, obviously, because our team is in it, and I'm scared of the Orioles. But it really makes for a more exciting game, and I'm not going to complain about it. But
yeah, neither am I. I mean, it like I said, sometimes you like to see the 100-win team, but you know what? When you have a race as good as it is now for the best record in baseball, let alone the best record in each prospective league, it's really fun, and it's going to really make those September games even more intense, and hopefully also make for a more intense, competitive, and closely contested and fun October.
yeah, and just to answer the second question, the question here in this graphic, can Cleveland hang on and win the division? I think they can. I don't think I don't think it's impossible, obviously. I mean, we still have a month to go. But do I personally think they're going to win this division? You know what? I'm going to take a gamble here, and I'm going to say no. I like the Royals more than I like the Guardians, to be honest.
I agree. I think I believe in Bobby Witt Jr.'s ability to elevate that team to, overtake Cleveland. And like I said before, because when you told it to me, I'd like sudden realization. If you go 500 against a ball club like the White Sox, I'm sorry. You don't deserve the division.
Well, I mean, there have been years where the Yankees have blown chances to get the division. If they played better.
I'm saying that right after the Yankees just lost the series to the Nationals.
I mean, the Yankees should be more than just one game up on the Orioles right now, but unfortunately, it is what it is. Like we mentioned, everybody's kind of playing down to their competition to an extent this year. And, this is just one instance where one team has just not taken advantage of opportunities, having the worst team in history in your division. The Royals have fattened up on the White Sox, whereas the Guardians have not. The Guardians have one more series against the White Sox this season. I don't exactly know when those days are, but they got to sweep that series. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, and they better start playing like they did during the early part of the summer when they started to just pull away, because they had a big lead in the Central at one point. And it's basically now going to be a dogfight down the stretch. It's a three-way dogfight between Cleveland, Kansas City, and Minnesota. And it's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward. And I'm very happy to see the American League Central look like this, because it's been too long where one team in the Central just pulls away from the rest of the competition and nobody else even comes remotely close. So hopefully it's going to be a memorable September for American League Central teams. I would love like a three-way tie in the final weekend of the series and the final weekend of the season. I would love to see that and see all hell break loose.
That can help us break those ties.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So while one team is fighting for a division, another team that we need to talk about, that being the Mariners. I believe that's the next topic.
Unfortunately, their manager is gone.
Yep. The Seattle Mariners, who at one point held a 10-game lead for first place in the American League West, kicked Scott Servais to the curb. Basically, it just has all fallen apart for the Mariners at this point. So Servais was relieved from his managerial duties after I think this was last week, I believe, after we recorded last week's episode. So today's the 29th, so last week was the 22nd. So August 22nd, he was let go by the Mariners. He was terminated.
Welcome to my kind of luck at this network.
Yep, just our luck. The biggest news of the week breaks the day we record, hours after we record. But Servais was fired by the Mariners after the Mariners completed a dismal 1-8 road trip from August 13th to August 21st, which included sweeps at the hands of the Tigers and the Dodgers, and losing 2 out of 3 to the Pirates. So 2 teams that are not good and 1 very good team. The biggest problem with the Mariners all season long has been their offense. Their offense is the worst in Major League Baseball, while their pitching has been the best. And in my opinion, this was a lose-lose situation for Servais. He was a scapegoat here. I think Service was, for the most part, I'm not saying he was perfect because 2022 still bothers me, even though I'm not a Mariners fan. So, Service was a good manager for the Mariners, and he brought them back to respectability. I mean, he led them to their first playoff appearance in an eternity in 2022. And he's also the second longest tenured manager in Mariner history, only behind Lou Piniella. He was there for 9 years. He was there since 2016. So, it's an end of an era, obviously. And the Mariners hired Dan Wilson to be the interim manager for the rest of this season. And the Mariners, right now are basically treading water. They're out of a playoff spot. They are only 2 games above 500 at 68 and 66. They are 3.5 back of the Astros for first in the American League West. So they're not out of it yet. They obviously still have a full month to go in September. I do not know. I think they do have one more series between each other, that being the Astros and the Mariners, if I'm
I think
not
they
mistaken.
do, yeah.
I'm looking at the schedule right now. So yeah, they have one more series against each other. It's the second to last week. This is the second to last series of the season, and it's in Houston, and that'll be from September 23rd to September 25th. That's basically going to be the make or break series for both of those teams, determining who's going to be going to the playoffs and who's not. But I'm not surprised by this. I had a feeling this was going to happen. You could see it building up for weeks. I mean, the Mariners were just playing lousy baseball. They just were having a hard time. Like I mentioned, like we talked about with the Yankees, the Mariners were playing down to their competition. They could not get anything going offensively. Granted, they did have some tough injuries along the way. They obviously lost J.P. Crawford and Julio Rodriguez to injuries. That definitely did not help them out. But, the Mariners just don't hit. I can't say that I'm surprised. They just are they're an all or nothing team. They either hit home runs or they strike out. They lead the major leagues in strikeouts by a mile. It's not even close. And it's come back.
What's going on with the Mariners right now, Ryan? Just because you said that, what's going on with the Mariners right now makes me echo back to last season with the Yankees, this home run or bust, kind of way. And you just gotta hope that like J-Rod came back, and hopefully he's getting back into his groove. Service, I mean, yeah, I get it. Look, I get it. The Mariners were collapsing. I didn't realize how bad of a collapse it was until that series, like right before, they had hit 500. And it's a shame with this team. It's honestly a shame with this ball club because of how good of a lead they had. Like you said before, they had a 10-game point over the Astros at one point. Now, did I think it was going to last, considering that the Astros were missing quite a bit of big pieces, earlier in the season when we played them? Probably not. But at the same time, there's only so much a manager can do. It's that same kind of talk we have sometimes about Aaron Boone. There's so much the manager can do sometimes, and that it's on the players to perform. Now, did Service do the best kind of job? I mean, I guess not, considering the fact that they were collapsing, but it's just a shame. It's a shame, Ryan, when Scott Service, reputable manager, did a hell of a job with this organization over 9 years, gets the hook. Meanwhile, over in Los Angeles with their rivals in the Angels, freaking the general manager loses the best player of all time for nothing. Has wasted away the career of Mike Trout, and here he is getting a 2-year. What was it, an extension or something?
It was an extension. I don't know the amount of years off the top of my head, but I can quickly take a look at that. But no, you're right.
But still, it feels completely, it's such an imbalance. I can't make any sort of argument anymore about managers or general managers in their tenures when, I mean, just look at this. Look at Service, and look at the Angels general manager. It makes no sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, I forget. I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name, but it's Perry Manchin, I think, or something like that for the Angels. Yeah, he got a 2-year contract extension, and the Angels have no sense of direction right now, and they have no farm system. They have no stars. They have a broken down Mike Trout and an injury prone and sourpuss Anthony Rendon on their roster. So there really is just not much to look forward to with the Angels. Yet the Mariners took the initiative to let go of Service. Also, the way Service found out that he was fired. I don't know if you heard about this. He found out on
that was awful.
Yeah,
awful.
He found out
scroll on the TV.
He didn't find. He found out by watching the news on the TV. He was not contacted personally. He had to find out by watching TV. That is as low as you can go. Talk about. Hey, buddy, thank you for leading us to some of our most successful seasons in history. But we're gonna fire you by not even telling you right to your face. We're just gonna let you find out for yourself by seeing your name pop up on a graphic on ESPN. It was absolutely what a kick to the balls that is. An absolute kick down there. I would be so furious and
It's awful.
awful. If I was Service, I wouldn't want to go back to Seattle again. With the way the way they just let you go. If you're gonna let me go, tell me to my face.
No.
Don't do it that way. That's the lowest hang. There's an old saying, a low hanging fruit. That's basically what it was from the Mariners, and I it was a disgusting act. If you
Yeah,
ask.
that was just a low blow right there.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, the Mariners lead Major League Baseball in strikeouts by a country mile. They are one of only two teams with 1,300 strikeouts. They have 1,374, so they're gonna eclipse 1,400 strikeouts this season. I do not know if that is a record, but I actually just want to double check something. So they have 1,300 strikeouts this season. And last year, well, actually no, I don't think they actually won't. They won't surpass. Well, you never know. Last year they had 1,603 strikeouts. They finished second only to the Twins. I'm actually just going. I want to see the past 5 seasons. So they're leading Major League Baseball right now in strikeouts this season. They finished second last season in strikeouts. They actually no, they finished 11th in strikeouts in 2022. So, but for the past 2 seasons, strikeouts have just been a major problem for the Mariners. So, and it's gotten so bad now where
I was going to say, regardless if it was regardless if it was a record or not, it's not good.
No, not good at all. And this is the reason why the Mariners are where they're at. They don't put the bat on the ball, and they just do not score runs to help support their starting pitchers. And, talk about just wasting the potential of a phenomenal starting rotation this year, which, like I said, was the best in Major League Baseball, but their offense is the worst. And they have nobody to blame but themselves. I think you can certainly blame Servais to an extent, like you mentioned, but there's only so much he could have done. He wasn't the one who put this team together. It was the general manager and the owner of the Mariners who put this team together. And none of these guys can hit on a daily basis. And I mean, your best hitter is Julio, and he kind of has had an up and down season. He hasn't had the best of years this year. But I mean, Cal Raleigh, strikeout or home run. There's no in between with him. Randy Arozarena, you picked him up at the deadline. He's had a down year. He's done nothing really. I mean, he'll hit a home run here and there, but I mean, he's had a disappointing season. I mean, Luke Raley, like these are guys that these are scraps at the bottom of the pizza box, basically, that you're scooping up from other teams. No offense to Luke Raley. I hope you don't watch this, but yeah, it's just been a tough year for the Mariners, and I mean, like I said, they're still in it. They're not out of it completely. But Servais, in my opinion, was just dealt a bad hand here. So Servais, like we mentioned, has been fired. So the next topic that we want to quickly talk about is the ageless wonder, Rich Hill. He was called back up to the Boston Red Sox. Rich Hill is 44 years old. The legend of Dick Mountain lives on. Yeah, I was wondering when your feed would get back. But Rich Hill, who made his major league debut,
that nickname, my God,
best nickname in Major League Baseball. But Hill made his major league debut in 2005 with the Chicago Cubs when I was only 8 years old. I am now 27 years old, so it's been almost 20 years.
I'm 11, pushing. I was 11, and now I'm pushing 30.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And here he is in 2024, still going strong. And again, the Red Sox are picking him up, and he's been called back up to the major leagues. And, the Red Sox have not announced when he's going to be making his first start. But if I had to guess, it would probably be this weekend against the Tigers, if I'm not mistaken. I think he'll probably pitch on Saturday. Probably on Saturday. But this is Hill's 1, 2, 3. This is Hill's fourth separate stint with the Red Sox. His first stint with them was from 2010 to 2012. His second was from 2015, and his third was 2022. And this guy has been absolutely anywhere and everywhere. He's been on Mars, he's been on Pluto, he's been on Uranus, and he's just been all over the league. And like I mentioned, he has been playing baseball since I was in third grade. So I feel like an old man now. And it makes me feel young and it makes me feel old at the same time.
I remember my senior year in high school, Ryan, when Jamie Moyer had his comeback with the Rockies and he became the oldest pitcher to, I think, win a game. I'm just thinking to myself at that point, like, jeez.
You know what? That's funny because, Moyer was 49 years old at the time, or he was 48 pushing for. No, he was 49 years old. He was 49 years old. He faced Bryce Harper once, Jamie Moyer, and he's almost 30 years older than Bryce Harper.
That was his rookie season. That was Harper's rookie season.
Harper was barely 20 and Moyer was 49. It's absolutely crazy. But 40-year-old Major League Baseball players are a rare breed nowadays. There aren't many of them left. Hill obviously is now once again by far maybe not by far, but he once again is the oldest player in Major League Baseball with this call-up, surpassing Justin Verlander, who entered the season as the oldest player at 41. And, what else can you say other than good for Hill and have fun? That's really all I got to say about this. Anytime I see a Major League Baseball player older than me, I'm happy. Because I don't know if I mentioned this. When I was younger, I always looked at the back of a baseball card to see when a baseball player was born, to see if they were older or younger than my parents. And now I'm checking the back of their baseball card to make sure that they're not younger than me. Because if they're younger than me, then I just feel like an old man. I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing?
That feels like my life right now. Every time I hear a baseball player coming up and it's 22, 23, 25, I'm just like, ugh.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But Rich Hill is giving us a little bit of a breathing room here at 44 years old, significantly older than both of us. And I hope I don't know how much longer he has in Major League Baseball, but it doesn't seem like he has any intentions on retiring anytime soon. Seems like
I think it's like you said before, Ryan. He's just enjoying the ride at this point. He's just enjoying whatever time is left for MLB, whatever opportunities he gets.
Yep. So good for Rich Hill, and best of luck, even though it's with the Red Sox. So Hill back in Major League Baseball. Dick Mountain's career continues, and another move was made around the league. The Astros have acquired Jason Hayward, and in the process, they sent down Chas McCormick to AAA. That was a little surprising because McCormick has been up in the big leagues for a couple of years now, and he was a big reason why the Astros won the World Series just 2 years ago. Obviously made that spectacular catch in Game 5, I believe, in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. But McCormick struggled pretty badly in recent weeks, so the Astros are going to send him down, and they're bringing in the veteran Jason Hayward, who I almost forgot was still a free agent or still available. Hayward's kind of bounced around here and there in recent years. And, for the Astros, I don't think they have anything to lose. I think it's a solid pickup for them. It seems like whoever they bring in will help out the team in some way, shape, or form. And I think that bringing in a guy with playoff and World Series experience like Hayward is can only help the Astros. I don't think Hayward's going to tear the cover off the ball necessarily. I think he's definitely regressed in recent years. But, Hayward, I think he's only a left-handed hitter, right? I don't think he's a switch hitter.
I think he's just a lefty, yeah.
I think he's just a lefty. But Hayward, he's a lefty. He could definitely take advantage of that short porch down the right field line in Houston. And like I said, he's a veteran. He brings a veteran presence to this Astro team that is, that's mostly consisting of veterans. So, they all know how to work together as a team. They obviously have experience. So I think it's a low risk. I think it's a low risk for the Astros. I don't think this is going to hurt them in any way.
No, at this point, like we talked about before, they're the ones in control in the AL West, and they're still, until it gets proven in October that they're not, they are still probably the team for the American League when it comes to October. So Jason Hayward, like you said, for all the reasons that you said before, low risk, high reward situation for them. So good on Hayward, good on the Astros. Makes me sick to say good on the Astros as a Yankees fan, but that's what it is at this point. I don't want to say they're playing with house money, but at the same time, they're the ones in control. Like they have the comfortable lead right now that everybody else, the Mariners, have to play catch up with.
Yep. So Jason Hayward is now officially a Houston Astro. So we'll see what happens there as the Astros enter the final month of the regular season, as well as the rest of Major League Baseball. And speaking of which, I guess we should just wrap it up with around the league and just go over where teams are sitting right now as of August 29th. So in the American League East, like we mentioned, the Yankees have a very slim one-game lead over the Orioles. The Yankees are 78-56. The Orioles are 77-57. Going to be a dogfight till the end. In third place are the Red Sox, who have been slumping pretty badly, and I think it's safe. I don't know if it's safe to say, but I think in all likelihood the Red Sox season is probably done. I don't know if they're going. I think they're kind of more pretenders than contenders. They're too inconsistent for my liking. Sorry, Ben.
They'll probably just miss out.
They'll probably just miss out, but they've had a good year though. Regardless, I'll give them props there. They were not expected to do anything, but they've exceeded expectations, and I think they can only go up from here. So the Red Sox right now are 69-64, 8.5 back. The Rays 66-67 are in fourth, and the Blue Jays are at 65-70, trying to get out of the cellar. The American League Central, like we mentioned, very tight, 1 through 3. Guardians 76-58 in first. Royals right behind them, 75-59. Twins are in third at 72-61. So, like we said, exciting race in the American League Central. And then there's the Tigers, who are over 500 at 68-66. And then the White Sox. The White Sox, August 29th, sit at 31-103. That is 70. That is 72 games under 500.
They're 38 games out of fourth place.
72 games under 500. How is that possible? Oh my God. 31-103. That is incredible.
And Ryan, they actually play the day. They play the day that we're recording this.
So it probably will be 104 right now. Well, it'll probably be 104 at the time when you are either watching or listening to us. So it's been just a miserable year for Chicago baseball. In the American League West, the Astros are at 71-62 and in first. Spencer Arrighetti took a no-hitter into the eighth inning yesterday against the Phillies. But mercifully, the Phillies broke that up. So not another no-hitter celebration at Citizens Bank Park, courtesy of the Astros. Mariners are in second, like we mentioned, 68-66, 3.5. Defending champion Rangers, their season's done. They're not repeating. They're 62-71, 9 games back in third place. Such a disappointing season for the Rangers. The Oakland A's, their final season in Oakland, also very disappointing. 58-75, 13 back. And then there are the lowly Angels with no sense of direction, just walking around in limbo at 54-79. In the National League East, the Phillies 78-55. The Braves have been playing much better and are starting to heat up, even despite all the injuries that they've endured this year. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They're still 5 back, so they still have a little bit of a gap to catch up to. But the Braves, right now are in a playoff spot. I think the Braves will make the playoffs. The Mets, 69-64. They're 2 up and down for me in my liking. I don't know if the Mets make the playoffs this year, but I think they come close. I definitely think they do make it close. The Nationals, 61-73, took 2 out of 3 from the Yankees because, of course, they did. A meaningless series win for the Nationals other than for pride. But I will say this, the Nationals do have some really talented young baseball players. James Wood definitely impressed me. Andre Chaparro, which I think is a travesty that's going to come back to bite the Yankees in the ass in the future. I just see that kid.
But the fact we got lit up by Patrick Corbin, who had a 6 or something ERA.
Yep.
That W on your hat shouldn't be for the Nationals. That W should be an L right now.
Yeah, it should be an L. It should be a big fat L. The Nationals are in fourth, and the Marlins, of course, are in last at 48-85. Marlins are looking at another 100 loss season in their glorious history. In the National League Central, the Brewers are at 76 and 56 with the biggest lead of any division leader, 9 games ahead of second place Chicago Cubs, who are at 68 and 66. The Cardinals are in third at 66 and 67. The Reds are in fourth at 63 and 70, and the Pirates are in last at 62 and 71. And finally, the National League West, the Dodgers, best record in all of baseball right now, 79 and 54. The Diamondbacks are in second, 3 games back at 76 and 57. The Padres are in third at 76 and 59. The Giants are in fourth at 500 at 67 and 67. And the Rockies, 50 and 84. They're also looking at a 100-loss season too, possibly. That's where the baseball standings stand as of August 29th, 2024. Tom, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add before we wrap it up.
Not really, but I think those standings just reiterate the point that we said before, Ryan. There is fun with competitiveness. Now, does it stink that we're going to have potentially 3 100-loss teams instead of 1 100 or 1 or 2 100-win teams? Yeah, a little bit, but as we said before, you look at how tight those races are, how the biggest lead is in the NL Central with a 9-game lead, and you look at everybody else, it's going to be a fun September as we are in now the home stretch towards the postseason, and I can't wait to watch some postseason baseball in October.
Me too. I mean, I'm really looking forward to 3 things primarily. Number 1, where the American League East ends. Number 2, where the American League Central ends. And number 3, where the Chicago White Sox end. Those are 3 things that I'm really looking forward to more than anything else at the end of this year. I'm so fascinated to see if the White Sox get to 120 losses. I really am. I sound like a jerk.
Yeah.
I know the White Sox fans, but oh my God, how could you not be invested in that? That is something you don't see that often. But yeah, we're gonna wrap it up here. I'm done. I think I gotta lay off the White Sox for a bit here. But thank you for watching episode number 47 of Hitting for the Cycle. We'll see you next week. On behalf of Tom Albano, I'm Ryan Touhey. We'll see you then.
Take care, everybody.